In 1884, Karl Peters started the German East Africa Company, or Deutsch Ostafrikanische Gesellschaft, or DOAG for short, in modern-day Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi. He forced local chiefs and tribal leaders to sign protection treaties that made their territory part of German East Africa. Britain owned the island of Zanzibar and had a few outposts on the mainland of Tanzania at the time, but Britain took its outposts out and allowed DOAG to have Tanzania. DOAG then received the land in their name, making Tanzania the DOAG's sovereign territory and giving them authority to tax and divide it all they wanted. The DOAG also had rights to all the trade routes, land and sea. There were many Muslim farmers on the coast of Tanzania who farmed foods and collected slaves and sent them back to the Ottoman Empire through seaports or long-distance land routes. When their trade got restricted, they were very unhappy about it. On top of that, DOAG was taking some of their land. A revolt was apparently sparked by Emil von Zaluski, a key DOAG leader, when he tried to hang the German East African flag over the Tanzanian one. So in September 1888, a revolt started all along the coast of Muslim farmers and Swahili Africans who had been oppressed by the Germans. In the city of Pangani, a riot broke out and was only stopped when German Marines had to divert and land in the city. Emil von Zaluski was put under house arrest by the rebels, until some of the British Zanzibar soldiers had to come and rescue him. In the city of Tanga, some German sailors were keeping some DOAG members safe, but they had to give them up when a crowd of armed rebels surrounded them. In the town of Kilwa, 2 DOAG members were killed by rebels. Abushiri Ibn Salim al-Harthi, a black Muslim plantation owner, united and led the rebels. Soon, the rebels had captured most major towns and outposts on the coast of Tanzania, and the only DOAG members left free were in military towns held by the German Marines. The German fleet and Royal Navy started blockading Tanzania, stopping the import of weapons and the export of farmed food and slaves. The rebels, though, continued to take the DOAG's members and property. So in January of 1889, the German government gave 2 million marks to the DOAG's cause. Otto von Bismarck appointed Hermann Wissmann as the leader of about 800 men to retake German East Africa. Few of the men were actually German. 3/4 of them were African mercenaries, called Askari. The war was famous for how they moved through the African savannah. Horses would usually die of diseases from the flies, and donkeys were in short supply, so zebras were used instead. Zebras mostly carried and towed equipment, but some domesticated zebras were ridden by German soldiers. The retaking of German East Africa was swift and bloody. The German troops managed to consistently beat the rebels, and pillaged many villages and killed many innocent Africans on the way. They managed to take most of German East Africa back in 1889, and in December of 1889, Abushiri Ibn Salim al-Harthi was handed over to the Germans by his own men while trying to flee the country. He was hung in Pangani a few days later. After this, Karl Peters was forced to leave his leadership position in the DOAG, and the DOAG was all but disbanded, with the German government taking over in German East Africa.